And in the Philippines, we have also guitar, a very traditional instrument, with a touch of Pacific music. That's what we also play the ukulele. And this song, I'm going to play a folk song in Filipino. And I taught this song to kindergarten children. A group of children from different backgrounds. They're Austrian, Turkish, Hungarian, and other children from different backgrounds from the Eastern European countries. So this song is called Six and Leron Leron Sinta. Leron Leron Sinta, kukulang babaya, dala-dala'y butlo, pisil na ng bunga, pagdating sa duloy, nabali ang sarap, takot ka palaran, umarap na kita, gumising ka nene, tayo'y malampano, dalhin mo ang butlo, pisil na ng inog, pagdating sa duloy, lalamba ng bayon, kumapit ka nene, magkakabahulog. If you want to join me, you can just clap your hands.
Mathematics, information technology, natural sciences, and technical sciences. In other words, also studies in marketing management. Young people should become professionals in those areas which should serve their productivity in order to further develop the economy. Of course, this in itself is not warning or wrong. No one can and should argue that strong economy brings not only economical but also personal and social development. However, too often we hear state officials or other public figures who cannot understand why people study sociology, philosophy, or other similar humanities. What is wrong is the fact that they, as educated people, cannot understand why education is important if it doesn't directly contribute to the economy. Should I dare to mention that ideology on which United Nations are based has been developed by philosophers. Education should not only be about acquiring skills, but also about acquiring ideals. These ideals should state that life is more than competition and personal success. There is far more to human relations and constant conflict over calculated interests. This is what United for Education and Sustainable Future stands for. As our name suggests, we believe that education is the most powerful tool for development, but in such a way that it can create a sustainable future for everyone. If we educate few young people to fulfill only their personal interests, then they will do as they're taught, and they will have very, very little positive effect on the community. This is why we have to systematically teach young people that their education and their knowledge are as much as important for their community as it is for them individually. If we apply this logic globally, then people will eventually stop seeing only interests of their countries and start thinking about how they can contribute to global well-being. Worldwide, we have many, many brilliant people. Imagine what impact they could achieve if they were to put their talents to the task of developing not only companies they work for or countries they live in, but the task of fixing our world. Is this achievable? We think it is. And it's a hard task, we know, but it's far from ambitious. To conclude that, what I really want to say is that the point is not only to educate someone, but how we educate. At UESF, we firmly believe that if we combine education and collective good, a new and sustainable future for everyone is possible already in the century. To make our mission to become reality, we aim to mobilize financial and intellectual resources in order to provide support and advocate education and development related projects for all those who need it.
I was quite interested when you talked about what the UN ideology is based on. The huge debate. Maybe we should have another topic one day on net ideology. How united are we really? I make to differ on some points. And you touched on competition. I think it's a crucial thing. Certainly for some of the younger people who are coming out of the universities, and the job market is so limited that they feel saying which you talking about this, which is the teacher will arrive when the student is there. That's from last week. Thousands of years. I see that we are still waiting for Sana to arrive.
We are not waiting for Sana.
Okay, so
she has a meeting. Sorry, I must say
it makes a difference whether a family is situated in an urban area, in the city, or somewhere in a rural part of the country, on the countryside, because of the access of information. There is a difference, and we were thinking of it would be good to provide an information point where all sorts of information are accessible for people in the countryside. For their further education, also to find all the necessary information or guidelines. In the city, it's a different situation because it's much easier to get all the information. Now, besides internet, of course, but there must also other sources than internet to receive information that I would need or necessary guidelines. And the second one was about tradition. There is in any family there is a sort of tradition, and this family tradition also needs to be questioned as people grow older. There is a wide range of tradition, for instance, conservative traditions, which are very good, sustainable traditions, lasting traditions of character qualities, which are important for all our lives. But there are also other concepts we might also inherit in our families, like the suspicion of anything new towards foreigners and other things. So we have to think about the concept that we also inherit from our family. So there is also this wide range. So this were basically the 2 points we were discussing.
Thank you very much. Could we move on? The topic was the role of preschool education for all. And the group pointed out that it's important for them that in this age, it's about atmosphere, especially. It's about being in contact with cultures and traditions and integration. It's the time where it's the easiest to do that. That the parents need to be integrated into what's done, means that the parents need to be involved from day one. And then we had an interesting thing because we thought, what are the monitoring factors to guarantee those factors? And so I think this is one point where you really have to think longer than 40 minutes or something like this. Means that you really have to make brainstorming of a lot of people and people who have a lot of experience. But what we think is that one point, what is also always my point, is that when we train the parents, they are actually a natural monitoring system. And we need to create strong grown-ups to balance the different aspects, because parents will not say anything if you're not strong enough and if you don't have the proper information. So to have strong grown-ups who really monitor, they need knowledge, they need to be trained. And it's also my impression, because I added this after the group has finished, so it's really for me, is that I think that there should be established something like life coaches who guide people, because it's about changing completely internally if you want to change the outside.
Of the government, that we have a plan for education. And that therefore we have a budget. And that we have a program, what is education? What are the standards of education? And what is the evaluation of education? How can we manage that?
So it's almost
and that is
the monitoring and evaluation.
And the details, in each school or group of schools. Here we discuss the participation of all groups are involved, of parents, children, and teachers, isn't it? and it is necessary to say how can, in Austria, how can we manage it that all people learn German? We have schools, they speak, I have an example, they speak such a short German. Gemma Lugna. Yeah? It means, should we go to Vienna city for shopping? Yeah? It is so a shorter speech. They don't speak German perfect, and a little bit, and all speak together. And it's a higher percent in this class. It's not the German speakers. The German speakers start to speak like that.
Yes. For example, yes.
So we talked about the
This is an example.
the necessity for assessment and standards in the educational environment.
I have a question. How do these kids who are really not familiar with German, how do they follow curriculum at all?
Like Alexander used to read. Maybe there needs to be our next workshop just on that. It is almost a lost group of people within the system who speak German, which is really not German or English, whichever language they're talking about. And in England they call it street language. Street language is impossible to really dissect. You cannot. But they call it the lingo, and it's such a derogatory word. And then when they hear people like me, I'm speaking as foreigner by the young people, they say, but you picked up the upper class British thing. So we really need to look at this question maybe next time.
This is a trend.
Sorry, but exactly for that program, there is already a program. And in the old days, it was done like this. When a child entered school, there was a kind of session with the director, with the headmaster. If you speak German, I mean, they are German, of course, they were only Austrian, and French or English person. But you had to know German, enough German to make yourself to speak out. For yourself, to know your name, to tie your basic, and that was it, and to know your address. So this was the selection for going to school. And later on, there were more and more foreigners coming, and the headmaster also checked their German. And when it was okay, they went to school. When it was not okay, they had to wait 1 more year. And this year, after, they had to prove that their German was better. And they had to go to school, they had to go to courses, and now there are lots of courses that are also available for the parents, because this is a big problem, what they just said about the working.
Okay, these are the points that we've discussed. First of all, we talk about sustainability without really defining what sustainable is, because if it works in one place, it doesn't have to. If it's sustainable in one place, it doesn't need to be sustainable in somewhere else. Then we need to start creating individuals with character, character being the key word, to build families and communities. We need to teach people to love their countries, communities, and regions, regardless if it's bad, because a lot of people end up hating where they come from because it's bad. And how can they contribute to the development of those regions if they don't feel any love or any connection towards that? Educate teachers to be more sensitive for cultural differences. This is also very important. In many countries now we have children, Austria also being a case in point, where children come from different cultural backgrounds, and teachers should be aware of that and be more sensitive to where they come from. Emphasize values, family building and care for community instead of only personal interest, and at the end, educate people to be good.
I agree with that. Finally, thank you.
And a partnership of parents, teachers, and the wide community, civil society. We have pointed out some very important topics, for instance, the necessity of schools in some countries there are already private initiatives, experiences, such as in Vienna, Maria Neuberger-Schmidt, who gives licenses to young mothers and fathers, but it should be done more efficiently in a legislative way. Obligated. Yes. And then we spoke about a new concept, communication ecology. This is a new topic, but it is growing on more and more importance and understanding in the society. And we had spoken about an experience in South America, in Latin America. There is a school, a middle school, a comprehensive school, and they have a special subject, emotional education. Yes, they train their pupils in sensoric, in sensory tools, and then up to the age. And then after the school, these people are are able to communicate in another way. They could suggest very many, a variety of solutions to communicate conflictly. So, but this experience is a curriculum in education, and this experience could be included in our discussion. Then the other topics very important are educational standards. We have spoken about Morocco, Italy, Russia, and Austria, and there are no equal standards in education. And I know my daughter is a doctor, and a young doctor, and she took part on working out of equal standards for specialization of young doctors within Europe. Yes. It is a very important aim, goal, we need as well. So, and once more, meeting ethics. For instance, in France, spoken about France, about Russia. I don't know in Italy. More? Yes, in Italy. The problem is either in Austria, this education is theoretic, more than practical. It must be visible. So, there is a lack in intrinsic value.
Yes, the society, the government, everyone. And in our world, somebody actually mentioned this morning about geniuses. So I'm going to finish off by talking about two geniuses today. And I think every person in this room knows about those two geniuses. Isn't it wonderful that we have no cultural boundary when it comes to knowing about geniuses? Less for those lesser human beings like us. And this is about a meeting between Charlie Chaplin and Albert Einstein. When the two of them met, Einstein said to Chaplin, "What I most admire about your act is your universality. You don't say a word, and yet the rest of the world understands you." To which Chaplin answered, he's my favorite character. To which Chaplin answered, he said, "It is true, but your glory is even greater. The whole world admires you, even though they don't understand a word of yourself." So our efforts today, ladies and gentlemen, have been to understand each other, to be understood, and to continue to improve our understanding. I thank you on behalf of the Women's Federation for World Peace for coming, sharing your thoughts, sharing your time with us, and very